Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Abraham, I don't know if you want to maybe hop to the next slide.
Sure.
So for those of you who are new here and don't yet know us, Work365 is a subscription and billing automation platform built on Dynamic CRM and the Power Platform that manages recurring revenue. Our platform encompasses the billing automation, subscription management, payments, as well as self-service. Ultimately, Work365 is used by partners to grow and scale their recurring revenue. Abraham, I think it's there. There we go. So today's session actually came about due to a number of partners that had reached out asking for some guidance around how to handle the renewal process as things have gotten a bit more complex thanks to NCE. So today, we're really meaning for the session to be collaborative, a collaborative conversation that's going to be led by a phenomenal group of panelists, supported by our team, but really we encourage everyone to please interact during this session. We want to hear questions, feedback, what's working, what's not working. Ultimately, we're all here to share best practices and lessons learned, so collectively we can better navigate this whole NCE world together. So Abraham's going to go ahead and kick us off with a little bit of background and reflection on the last year with NCE. Then we're going to dive into the panel discussion, the roundtable discussion. Again, we really encourage everyone to participate in that. And then we'll cover how Work365 can help with the renewal process, and then wrap up with our product roadmap and some of the exciting things that are coming that will even further enable partners to better manage the renewal process, as well as some other things in their business. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Just from a housekeeping point of view, let me see if we've got the questions out there. All right, yep. Somebody says, sorry, I do not hear you. Just a show of hands, everybody can hear us, right? The panelists are saying yes. If somebody can just answer. A couple of hands raised.
Yeah, I think, Abraham, it's okay.
It's okay? All right.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Excellent. Okay. So let's set a little bit of the backdrop, a little bit of recap of why this has come about. So legacy versus NCE, right? What fundamentally changed? There are a few things. Was commitment first of all. It was monthly with annual commitment. That was something new. Commitments were always there, but they were not enforced, right? Then there was term-based pricing. What I mean by that is there was different pricing for annual commitments, different pricing for monthly commitments. Then there was a price increase, right? An actual price increase for a certain SKUs. And there was, and now there was promotions which needed to be managed, promotions because Microsoft was incentivizing partners to move to NCE. And then there was, of course, promotions on how they were discounting monthly SKUs. And now there's this entire thing about currency and managing fluctuations with currency changes. So that's going to happen twice a year, right? But apart from all the, the noise and the pain and the back and forth, the change in messaging that partners had to deal with, Microsoft basically turned a few levers, right? And they executed on a commercial plan that in theory should improve predictability, increase revenue, reduce churn, and get partners to better align with their goals. And, if their old numbers are correct, which is for every dollar Microsoft makes, partners make $10, this in effect should play out okay in theory, right? We'll all have to wait and watch, but the basic levers were around recurring revenue and how to fix it and make it more predictable. From an operational and billing point of view, there has been a change, right? And the change is, I think, another added layer of maybe complexity, but at the same time, clarity. Before NCE, your billing relationship was fundamental. Because of the way you could add subscriptions, because there was no penalty, because of the commitment, you could, the billing relationship was fundamentally important. With NCE, while your billing relationship is still very important, there's another change now. What partners need to manage is subscriptions, price changes, and products, right? Those have become equally important. So pricing management, customer management, and renewal management have become very important because of NCE. Just gonna move to the next slide. Couple of dates. So the discount on monthly SKUs expires on July 1st. I think it was supposed to be March. Now the new one is July 1st, 2023. If somebody knows otherwise, please let us know. And I have heard that you can still add new subscriptions and renew under legacy, even till now, right? So I've heard some partners are still able to do that. Now, today's discussion is about renewals, and we get into the crux and how people are doing it. But just a recap, right? Here's a high-level overview of the renewal process. We all know renewals are critical, more critical in recurring revenue, because by the time you're actually making money for the customer acquisition, it's usually year 2 and year 3, and there are multitude of angles of pressures on the renewal team, right? The CEO wants the renewal experience to be pleasant, and not customers complaining about it. The CRO wants you to do upsell and cross-sell, and make the most of the renewal, look at it as an opportunity. The CFO wants you to see if you can do multi-year deals so that there is there's more predictability in revenue. And then you always have where the CS team says it was all good and then they cancel at the last minute. So a few guidelines on how you design a renewal process. Simple, you always start you start backwards in renewal as opposed to sales. So before the renewal days, you pick a window, and hopefully in today's discussion we figure out what that timeline window is. What are some of the considerations you need to make to decide that window, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, whether all your contracts are set up for auto renewal. And a few things I think in terms of guidelines is when you're designing a renewal process, I think the 80-20 rule is very important. What I mean by that is you'll always find exceptions, and it's hard to design a process that fits every customer and every business relationship that you have. I think another guideline is keep it simple. The more I think you try and engineer it, you'll always find exceptions to it. And then the third one would be be data-led, right? There are lots of factors when it comes to renewals. It is whom you're renewing, what are the products you're renewing, how much data you have about the customer, how much data do you have about pricing. All of that sort of decide and help you create your renewal process. But the 4 steps are: you have a forecast and approach stage, which is in this particular example 7 days, which is where you're looking at the data as to which subscriptions are coming up for renewal. Are there any alignments which need to be made to subscription and billing contracts? Are there any price changes? Are there any promotions out there? And then you get into the outreach part of the renewal process, where you're communicating, where you're potentially negotiating, and where you're getting hopefully an agreement and an approval. And then now with NCE, you have the 5-day or 7-day cancellation window. And then from there on, if it's a renewal, you go back into billing automation. So that's sort of the groundwork of how a renewal process would work. And now, I'd like to get to the panel to get their actual insights. I'm excited to introduce them to you. They're a diverse group with diverse experiences and diverse responsibilities. We have Dana from Intelitech, Daniel from Witham, and Dale from Beyond Impact. Thank you all for joining me today. I'll start with Dana. Dana, if you could just give us a brief background about Intelitech and where you are with the NCE journey.
Sure, thanks. Welcome, everybody. Intelitech Solutions, we've been a Microsoft Gold partner. I know we can't really say Gold partnership anymore with the new badging system. but going on almost 30 years. Our primary focus was on the legacy ERP solutions such as SLGP. About 5 years ago, we became a tier 1 CSP partner and focusing on Azure and anything 365. And so that's where we started to look into how can we make things better from a billing and invoicing, and we joined the Work 365 team about 2 years ago, hard to believe. But our primary focus is on implementation of software, integrations, customizations, and custom reporting. Is a little bit about us. Our variety of customer, we kind of range anywhere from about 5 to 50 user count. So, and we've got some Office 365 / Microsoft 365 in the hundreds of user counts. So,
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you, Dana. Excellent. Daniel, if you could give us a brief about Witham and where you are with your NCE journey.
Absolutely. My name is Daniel Karendimani. I'm a partner here with Witham Digital. I'm in charge of our technology consulting group focused on digital transformation on the Microsoft platform. We are also a legacy gold partner with now specialization and designation in modern workplace, data and AI, and digital app innovation. So we're more on the software development side, implementation of large solution on Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Viva, Azure, and the Power Platform. So we do resell licensing. We started our reseller journey about 6 years ago. And we've been a Microsoft partner for over 22 years, so it's been a long time. And licensing for us is strategic in a way that it supplements the service we deliver. We are primarily a services company. We do 20% managed services, 80% project-based businesses, but we see selling and reselling licensing as critical to our business. We've converted the majority of our customer to NCE about a year ago, give and take, on March 1st of last year. That was a painful journey, and we're now going through renewal. So I've been with Work 365 for 3 months, 4 months. It's been great and a fantastic journey so far. And prior to that, we've gone through multiple different platforms, but we were very happy with being part of the Work 365 family.
Thank you, Daniel. No, that's great to hear. And we get back into a little bit about the couple of other platforms, but thank you for that introduction. Dale, if you could talk to us a little bit about what you do and the journey with NCE so far.
Sure. So Beyond Impact is a Microsoft partner. We've been a direct CSP since about 2015, kind of very early when the program really just got started. We've been doing this licensing sort of more of as a extra added service to our client base. I mean, it isn't primarily what we do. We sell a lot of Azure consumption. We do hosting and managed services, both in Azure and in our own private cloud data center. So Microsoft licensing isn't really one of the main services. We kind of do it as a value added almost to our current customers that are usually doing other things with us. So we try to be that one-stop shop for a Microsoft partner, where we can do hosting, we can do consulting around Azure, we can sell your licensing, and we can support Microsoft 365 as well. So as far as our NCE journey is concerned, we started last year about this time, or maybe a little earlier than this, and just converted all of our legacy customers to NCE, and that was interesting, challenging at times. Customers didn't really understand why, but we prepared pretty well for it, and I think we executed it pretty well.
Excellent. No, thank you, Dale, and good to hear that. And Dale, how long have you been with Work 365?
Well, we started onboarding in June of last year, and really went live in August of 2020.
Okay. We were supposed to have Nick from Theta, who's been, who is an MSP, been involved in the Microsoft ecosystem for a long, long time. He had some conflicting, so he couldn't join us, but I'm thankful for you all to be here. In our initial briefing, all of you mentioned one line, that renewal management with NCE is complex. If we could just go around the room for a couple of minutes, and then we get down to some of the actual operational things. Who wants to start with first? What are those complexities that you're running into, and has it changed? If you could just walk us through that.
Sure. Well, I can go. I think the initial complexity was explaining to a customer all the changes that were happening, and the potential outcomes for them. They didn't really understand it. They sort of have to accept it at face value, as they were told. There's really other source they can go to validate what's being said. They weren't really that plugged in to Microsoft licensing, which I don't, I completely understand. So almost, I think 100% of ours, we gave them the choice. Do you want to continue with your current monthly rate? Then you have to make this annual commitment.
Right.
If you don't make that annual commitment, you're going to pay 20% more. So for a lot of them, it was a pretty easy decision because their user counts really didn't go up or down. And so I think they primarily made the decision based on wanting to maintain their current pricing structure. I don't think they fully understood. I don't think all of them fully understood what they were, what the implication was. Although we explained it very well in a point by point, and had them sign a contract saying, yeah, I understand this. With a couple of customers, we had to follow up in the subsequent months and say, you really can't reduce your count. I know you try, but you really can't do that. Point them back to the contract that they signed. And I think some of them just realized what they were signing up for at that point. So I think the complexities were customers not really understanding what the commitment was. Those that did have been watching it pretty carefully. They've been notifying us. Don't I have this coming up, renewal coming up, and when can I change it? And that's I think those were some of the challenges that we had in just explaining to customers why this was happening and what it meant for them.
Right. Daniel or Dana, if you want to.
Yeah, I can. Oh,
Go ahead, Dana.
go ahead, Dana. Go ahead.
I can pretty much verbatim state everything that Dale just said. I can add a couple of things that we had challenges with. In the legacy SKUs, we were allowing our customers to pay quarterly. And we had to make that decision to, okay, you're either going to go monthly at the 20% increase in price, or you're going to go annual. So we had some of those same challenges that Dale had on explanation of that. Now, I can tell you, we as an organization, just from an overhead perspective, we require a credit card profile on any month-to-month contract. It just makes things a lot easier for me that I don't have to chase people down monthly. I'm not going to tell you that a credit card doesn't get declined and I still have to chase one or two here or there. But that was one hint that I can give you on the month-to-month. It's going to make a lot easier if you can have a credit card profile.
No, it's and especially, if you can get the customers to do that, like you said, there's always going to be that 4 or 5% where the credit card declines, but still, there's still some predictability.
Okay.
Daniel, what about you?
Yeah, so for us, I think a year ago we converted 100% of our customers from the legacy CSP to NCE, we required a yearly agreement from all of our clients, and we also requested upfront payment, right? Because as you know, as a partner, you're on the hook, right? If your client pays you or not, you're responsible for those licenses. So, you know, we did offer some leeway with really good clients, but I think this was important for us. We did took advantage of the promotion, like Dale, of deferring the price increase essentially for a year. But that price increase has come now, right, at renewal, right? So that was part of one of our challenge was the client forgot that a year ago we told them, hey, for a year you're going to maintain this price. It was great, but you know, don't forget in a year it's going to go up, right? So the majority forgot that was the case, and but that they realized, right, because the retail pricing has gone up on everywhere on Microsoft website, so they can compare what we're saying now that is actually real, right? So that, you know, promotion has been a challenge, continue to be a challenge, you know, managing those and making sense of it at renewal.
So Daniel, that creates friction, and how have you been sort of managing that friction and going back saying, you know, we had told you it was discounted, now it has gone up. How are you managing that communication? Who leads that? Is it from the sales side, or is it a renewal team? Who's managing that?
It's our account management team. Essentially, we, you know, we've taken on about 30 days before renewal the communication to our client. I think we've taken a different approach. We told them, look, it's a yearly agreement. You're locked in quantity for a year. Now it's time to right size your subscription, right? And so Tuesday that we're going to help you make sure you get the best deal, right? As opposed to the price going to go up. In essence, it's for most of our clients, it has not gone up because they were able to make adjustment in the 7 days window and essentially right-size their subscription. So now we're at a point where they have the right size, they're paying less, but they have less subscription. So I think we used that tactic to really get close and show the customer we're providing value.
Got it. And Daniel, when do you start this? When do you start the renewal process? I mean, most of your customers now are already in the system. They already, you know, they've already know about NCE. When do you start this conversation? A month before renewal? Could you walk us through a little bit about the timeline?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you know, it's interesting because, you know, we were fearing churn during this renewal period. We have not had any, right? So the reality is, let's be honest, switching a CSP is not easy, right? I mean, you know, I mean, some people can make it easy. It's not, right? And I think one of the advantage, but also the challenge of NCE is that, you know, it's hard to attract new clients because that is to switch. But it, you know, the advantage too is that it's hard for our client to leave, right? Because that's something they can just take, cancel and go, right? So it requires a lot of hand-holding.
So sorry. So you said it's. I missed that. When do you start the conversation? A month or the
so we started the conversation 30 days before renewal. 30 days before renewal. And then we, you know, we work with every client. We had, you know, let's review your usage. You know, is there opportunity for you to right size if you need to, because that's the time to do it, right? And after March 7th, in our case, we won't be able to do it.
Got it. Dana, do you do it at any different timeline? Does 30 days sound about right?
We actually, in Teletech, because we bill in advance 30 days, so in February, we're billing for March services. So we actually start to anywhere from the 60 to 90 day time frame. And so we're actually using the Work 365 dashboard component on the billing admin screen for renewal in 90 days is kind of our starting point for at least the conversation. And then what I do is I basically start with an email, sending them a screenshot of what licenses they have and the license count. And then, you know, we just keep the follow-up, and hopefully we get our changes needed prior to that. Since we do bill in advance 30 days, we need to actually be 30 days in advance of renewal and locked in.
But Dana, you don't get to know about the price changes till that month. So how do you sort of deal with that if you're doing it 90 days before?
We're not really talking pricing at that point. That's a good point. Okay. We're just mainly talking license count.
Got it.
especially where decreases are concerned. Yeah, we're not talking pricing at that point.
You're not talking price changes. You're talking about quantities. This is what you've signed up for.
Exactly.
And I guess, Neil, is there any difference in terms of your window of renewals, or is it also, you know, I guess Dana does it way in advance, but when do you start the renewal conversation?
Yeah, I think it's 30 days for us. I mean, we don't have probably the volume that Dana has to deal with, so we're looking at 30 days prior to those terminations. Taking the list right off of the Microsoft Partner Center, it can give you a list of customers and their expiration dates. So 30 days seems to be adequate for us.
Got it. I mean, you can get it from Work 365 as well, and we can show you that. But yeah. So one question, right, around. So I heard the word right sizing. Do you use the renewal process or the renewal stage to upsell, cross sell, or does that happen way before you get into the renewal conversation?
We try to use the upsell, and we're really, especially where we have SKUs in the Office 365 arena, and trying to get them to move to Microsoft 365. And because we are an Azure partner, we are kind of full service. So we try to do it as an upsell service as well. But admittedly, organizationally, we're kind of revamping and trying to get more of an account manager type situation that can have those global discussions outside of just licensing semantics, if that makes any sense.
Sure. And then I guess a follow-up question of Daniel, Dale, do you have anything in terms of how do you do the upsell, cross-sell, any difference to what Dana said, or a different perspective?
I think we're constantly trying to upsell. I don't think we wait for any the time when we get a chance to talk to a customer. We're always talking about that. This gives us one more thing to talk about, probably. So it gives us maybe a better chance to get a hold of them when there's something, a deadline, nothing like a deadline to get something accomplished. So it probably helps in that respect, but I don't think we don't have any program, intentionally going out and using this as a chance to upsell. I think it's a good idea. And I think we should be doing it. We just don't.
Yeah.
I can add to that, because we have some of the legacy on-premise customers. We actually have a focus right now on trying to get them over to Azure at anything cloud, because most of those on-premise solutions are sunsetting in the very near future. So we've got a big opportunity from that standpoint.
Got it. And so talking about that upsell motion of figuring out opportunity in renewals, any of you do Project Orland, or how do you figure out what the upsell opportunity is? How do you get the data, or figure out the consumption or usage, or say they need to move to this SKU? Is there are you using things, or is it just awareness from Microsoft?
I mean, for us, it's primarily, obviously there's this promotion, right? So we leverage, if there are promotions in place, to leverage Microsoft promotion to drive upsell and adoption. In most cases, most of our clients that we transact licensing for are on some sort of a support agreement or managed services agreement, right? So we are talking with them all the time, and I think it's more business driven, right? If they have a business need, then we use that opportunity as a way to upsell them or propose, an upgrade. We're pushing everyone to be on the highest level of Microsoft 365 for security reason and needs. So that obviously makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but have any of you started using Project Orland or seen it? No.
Our team has, yeah. Our team has started looking at, the capability. We've been leveraging Microsoft Lighthouse for a while, which has been a way to look at security. We're using a lot of the usage dashboard in Partner Center as a way. I think the project Roland you're referring to is the same
Right.
thing. So it's additional insight into usage, right, and what people are doing or the opportunity for them to deploy.
Right. I mean, that's what Microsoft's sort of driving as, once you get the usage and the adoption, you then figure out. And in fact, with Project Roland, I think they give you recommendations as well, saying to this customer, try and position this product as you.
Yeah.
Right. So we got a little bit about the timeline. The other question, right, in terms of churn, do you see churn being a bigger problem because of NCE? I mean, and if I'm sure there's friction, I'm sure there are issues, but if you had to go back over the last few years, has it created more churn? NCE renewals?
I mean, I think there's a risk, right? And I think that the risk for us is we've aligned almost every customer to the March 1st sort of renewal, because that's when we migrated last year. So they've all been migrated on the same day. So the risk is the churn is all at once as opposed to spread out all over the place, right? Now, when we get new clients, obviously they're spread out across the board, right?
Right.
The churn is really related from our perspective about what value are you providing to your customer, right? So if we're able to provide value, if we're billing them the right amount, right quantity, we're not making mistake on billing, then we service well, I feel like, they're going to feel like, they're well served, and therefore, they know they have a self-service portal, they can go in and make a change. So, there's a tight relationship we've been able to build with those customers. So that, I think, reduced the churn itself. But yeah, I mean, NCE has made things tighter that at least that for a year, if they sign up, they're going to be with you, right? So from that perspective, I think it has improved.
Predictability, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's more predictable,
More predictable, yeah. Dale, your thoughts on churn or any?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's churn delayed is what it is, and it kind of works on both sides, both to the benefit and also as a deterrent for winning new business. We have customers that come to us and they want to make that switch because they're not being serviced very well today, but our hands are tied until whenever their current contract or their current commitment ends. Sometimes they don't even know what that is. So I think the churn hasn't really changed. It's just been delayed. There's benefits to it, and then there's negative consequences of it as well. But I don't think there's any more churn because of NCE. I think it's just delayed if there is going to be churn, both negative and positive.
Both negative and positive. Yeah. You mentioned self-service. Do you think that has an impact on renewals or whether it could impact or be used for renewals?
I think it could impact in two ways, right? I think, if we need too much self-service, it just means we're not talking with the client anymore, right? So we don't know what they're doing or we're not paying attention. However, I think, on the flip side, it does the client, they don't, I know that a lot of clients that we picked up were complaining that with their previous CSP, they had to open a ticket and call someone to make a change, even adding a SKU or making any change, right? So, for us, I think it's mostly a positive experience, and it allows to show the client value, and I think the benefit outweigh the risk.
If I can just interject for just a quick second. There's a question from the audience, from the attendees. There's one question about how is the panel handling co-termination? If somebody has any thoughts on that, that would be great. What do you guys think about co-termination? How are you handling that?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. And I wish there was a magic solution to it. I don't think there is one. For us, we actively monitor any new subscription that the client may subscribe themselves and make sure we go in partner center and co-terminate it, right?
Right.
Otherwise, we'll have terms all over the place for a client, right? And because we bill our client ahead of time for 1 year, it's very important that any new subscription is co-term. One thing we put in place is we don't let client buy new product on their own. We ask them, if you want something brand new you don't have, come to us, because you have too many options, and then the portal doesn't support the complexity of co-terming, right? Because it's not easy, right? I mean, a human has to think about it, right? And our clients are probably not tool to make that decision on their own, right? They don't understand it. But otherwise, if they do on their own, we monitor any new subscription, go in and make sure that we co-term it. If they didn't do the right thing, we'll cancel, re-add it, and make sure it's done the right way.
They're actually implementing the self-service portal right now, so I can 100% agree with Daniel that that's pretty much what we are going to be implementing, especially that not allowing new SKUs if they haven't purchased before. That could really get your company locked into a product that they really didn't mean to purchase.
And that is something we see all the time. That's very normal, and I think very logical approach to the risk you're willing to take and how much you're willing to empower a customer, right? It's good for subscription changes, quantity changes, for them to see what is there, but not necessarily to add brand new subscriptions, because alignment and all of that stuff could be a problem. Anything else we have from the thing, or is there any other question from the audience that we can take right now? Let me look a second.
Yeah, so Abraham, I am not, I don't have visibility on the Q&A. I know
Okay, fine.
There's just general questions about sharing this presentation, but otherwise, no more at this point. I'm sure there might be at the end.
All right. Okay. So is there a best practice around renewals that you'd like to share, or something that's worked for you, or something that you figured out while you were doing this? We discussed advance, we discussed the timeline, but anything else in terms of a best practice which would be useful for the other partners who are maybe new to this, or trying to figure out renewal management with NCE?
I can share something that I honestly felt silly about this week that I didn't know about, but if I didn't know about it, maybe somebody else possibly doesn't know about it, and it really saved me a lot of heartache here. But actually scheduling decreases based on renewal dates. I was honestly, like I said, I feel silly that I didn't know it was there. And Jeremy showed me that the other day, and it's going to be a lifesaver. I did actually take the out-of-box view that Work365 provides, the active scheduled license change logs,
Right.
and added the customer name and the actual effective date. So I have a better dashboard. I can just kind of at a glance see what changes and for whom are coming up. But that's going to be a lifesaver for me anyway.
Yeah. Daniel, Dale, anything from your side in terms of a best practice or thing that you know now that you didn't know when you started it?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think, and that's maybe not the best practice, but something that we're grateful on is we've been able, with using Work365, to make sense of which client had which promotion active. And we can see and reconcile, so the Microsoft invoice with the actual price of this license by running a custom report on Work365, and that's been a great tool for us, right? So we're able to see quickly, this is the client that were under the promotion, this is the one that we discounted, so that can renew, or we're able to inject the new prices in the system. Right? So that's been something that we spent a lot of time on, and we could have not done that without Work365. It would have been going one by one to a file and trying to make sense of it.
Right. Dale,
Do
anything
any-
from your end you'd like to share?
You know, we use Work 365 to make those changes. I think it's a lot easier. Maybe it's just because we're working all the time anyway, rather than going to the Microsoft Partner Center and going through that process and changing. And it just seems easier to manage everything in Work 365, both ads and you know, any changes to quantity, those sorts of things, auto renewals, changing auto renewals, pretty easy to do right in Microsoft or in Work 365. A lot easier than the Partner Center, in my opinion. And again, it may be because we're in there working all the time anyway in Work 365, but just one less place to go. I think the less I have to go to Partner Center, the better I have the better mood I'm in.
Yeah, sure. And I guess a little more control as well. Yeah, yeah. Just 1 second. Let me see.
And the license change logs and the history, it's all there and available. Either way you do it, it's there and available, but you're working anyway.
Second, I'm trying to get my screen. And what screen do you see right now? Because I moved something around on my.
I'm seeing the panelist slide.
Okay, sorry. So I need to move that back. Right. You seeing the panelist slide?
Yes.
Is this okay now?
I'm still seeing the panelist slide.
Yeah. No, that is the slide I want to show. I do want to stay on there. I was wondering if you could still see that. Okay. All right. From my end, I don't have anything else to add. I did want to talk a little bit about what's coming up on our roadmap and see if there's anything, and open it up to the audience if there's any questions. But yeah, I think we can just move on to what we're putting in there. And we've heard your feedback on the renewal side. We do believe with all the data that we have in Work 365 around the products, around subscriptions, around auto-renewal, around commitment end dates, it should be much easier, or at least reduce some of the friction when it comes to managing renewals. And we'll keep incorporating that feedback and making it easier, I guess, as we go along. So this is what's there for coming up on the roadmap, right? We are gonna, add a lot of functionality into the portal, but in line with what you've said, not so that they can make decisions which would, hurt them or create subscriptions which, don't align, but basically provide better insights to customers through reports, analytics, trends, and allow partners to be able to see how the subscriptions are being consumed and what is the usage behind it, so that there is more intel on how to manage the billing relationship, how to manage and how to manage the customer. Product service, is being used to look at what products are there, update your price lists, manage subscriptions, so that you know what subscriptions have a price change. But see how we can help with sort of incorporating promotions, improve price management, and therefore help you with renewals as well. And the last piece we're sort of working on, or at the design stage right now, is managing promotions. And we're trying to look at it a little bit holistically, right? Not just Microsoft promotions, but also how would you as a partner come up with promotions and discounts and incentivize or create offers. So we're sort of, those are the big things on the roadmap right now. But yeah, that's it from our end. I think